No, it's fine. Whatever. I'll do it. Is this the guy's music? So basic. I cannot believe I am here again. Listen, I don't even know this guy. The Gnome Avenger. Like, what is he avenging? Are gnomes really busy during the Christmas season? Like, is gnome a kind of elf? I don't think so, and I'm usually really good about following trends and identity. I mean, when I'm not starting them. So once again, it falls to me to do the hosting for Paperback Radio. And I gotta say, I am tired of this. If one more entity ghosts these poor people and they end up unscheduled in my cafe, there will be consequences. Cosmic consequences. Anywho, this is part 2 of What to Do, a fairy tale retelling by Lane McLeod Jackson. Oh, and happy holidays. Enjoy the rest of your pathetic existence and be grateful for your lives. Or whatever you're supposed to say.
Legacy is a powerful burden, especially when one wrestles with royalty. Does the crown seem archaic to you? The furred robes and glimmering scepter, allusions to an out-of-style myth. The divine right of kings, noblesse oblige. Don't make me laugh. Power is what power does. A weak princeling will find themselves displaced by a stronger heir. Justice and consistency, those are the synonyms, at least in the day-to-day. Bribery or banditry are only as diabolical as the acts are uncommon. But should you know Grithel Hookhand rules the bridge over Baxton River, and he'll demand 3 coppers or else disembowel the brave and fools alike, now it's simply an expense. The time to get my goods to market, the cost of rotten lettuce, the safety offered, because all rival criminals have been killed. Suddenly, the toll I pay seems only fair. It is the capriciousness, nay, the fickleness of the average murderer which harms our sense of fair play. Thus, if the kingdom is stable, unbothered by outside calamity, it is, by definition, just. Unfortunately, the human spirit has no taste for such comforts. No youth, man or woman of substance, finds delight in serenity. Bounties offered from dying generations are viewed as poison to be trampled. Every inconvenience must be put to poetry, the woes of the truly destitute adorned by their oppressors. And once it's all done, and new rules become clear, the next round of knights in the next generation stampede over all so-called progress again. Anywho, the Queen agreed, yay! She'll support the marriage under the condition her precious little Princey Pooh loves our Ella. Or, at least enough to marry.
What was that?
Good news, I thought.
No, going from war to death to goody gumdrops.
Oh, I'd love a sweet. Do you have any?
What is your issue?
Abandonment and substance abuse.
But the Queen agreed.
With limited hesitation.
Excellent. How did you convince her?
Blackmail.
Oh my, whatever did she do?
Well, our feminine royal majesty had the temerity to be born poor, be only somewhat beautiful, and credit herself with another's gifts. She owes me, knows it, and we both care about the child.
Well, I dare say she will not be disappointed with the result.
No.
I visited my goddaughter last night. I might have undersold how beautiful she is, especially once my magic cleans her up. Also, and this did surprise me, she's not completely stupid.
Wait, was that a concern?
I caught the girl fishing lentils out of the fireplace and talking to birds.
Didn't you say the animals also speak to her?
Yes, but they don't say anything insightful. They're a bunch of ninnies.
Oh, of course. Please continue.
Now, here's the thing. Her wicked stepmother's sisters cannot know. As family, I cannot interfere. Now, we'll need to keep them distracted. They can be quite charming when they desire.
Chaos will be arranged.
Now, what does the prince look for in a lady?
Large bosoms, preferably displayed and within easy reach. He himself is not particularly interested in marriage.
But I am.
Well, then all the important parties are in agreement. But Ella will need to catch his attention. He enjoys hunting, battling monsters, a fair amount of history, and helping others. He's not a bad man, but fighting the draw of the crown.
Does he enjoy the chase?
Wouldn't know. I've never known a woman who ran.
Cindy will.
You mean Ella?
I like Cindy. Oh, yes. Not to worry. We'll leave our prince wanting more. What's his name, by the way?
Jasper.
Tell me you're lying.
I am lying.
Thank heaven above, you had me going there. What's his real name?
Do you want an amusing falsehood or something believable?
Jasper.
No, that's the one name we cannot use.
How did you let those monsters mutilate that child so?
It seemed dignified, fit for a king. Forgot he had to be a prince first.
We'll make do.
So glad to be the recipient of your mercy.
She will arrive by 8.
Scandalously late.
An entrance worthy of a new queen.
To start out of character, I'll be honest, at least with myself. I liked the name Jasper, and frankly my darling boy wears it well. Names are important to me, since my own causes me nothing but trouble. Still, when I lost possession of the adorable little tyke, I was happy the royal family picked something dignified. Now as the guests surge in, adorned in masks and shameless, I'm really forced to ask myself a complex question in its simplicity. Why am I doing any of this? First thought, humor. It's whimsical, and a peasant marrying the prince amuses me. It's why I helped the queen so many years ago, that and to save her life. But royalty is so absurd, it does one credit to knock it down. Second, a fairy's blessing is worth thrice any political union this crown could attract, especially one as powerful as Madeline. Third, our king is a psychopath who needs to be removed for the sake of human survival. The man once locked his current bride in a tower and demanded she spin straw into gold, on pain of death. That is not a healthy mental state. Fortunately, I was there, a regular hero, and weaving straw into wonders happens to be one of my parlor tricks. Yet another is shrinking to the size of a pea. An odd quirk, but useful. Because in this state, like the mighty flea, my legs propel me yards, even miles should I wish. As I land on someone's collar, I'm hardly noticed, and my other skills may still be used. So here I sit amongst the brambles and dangers of the Grand Duchess Amelia's wig, and we together judge every entrance and challenger. This, by the way, is why one should not mix balls and masks. I'd say a quarter of the incoming Visigoths picked one style or the other, certainly the wisest course of action. Within this, a healthy minority chose elegance and demure sophistication. Family crests adorning their best features, pendants pinned near the heart more often than not. Shameless, and cunning. The majority of the quarter of the overall whole optioned instead for what I'll refer to as Gothic sex appeal. Dark dresses, ivory masks, flowing cuts, and glistening skin. As a gentleman, I made sure to study every curve. It would be disrespectful to the effort otherwise. The remaining stampede could not pick their approach. Indecision and fecklessness defined the forgettable. But I had a mission, and it would not be easy. First, the creation of an entity whose temptation matched the noble Prince Jasper. This required a little effort, but the masquerade provided a unique opportunity. The miracles I can accomplish with farming weeds, and since I spar straw men every moment of my interminable existence, it's easy to summon one. If we only had a brain, enchanted to be charming, vapid, and exuding wealth. The fact he was disguised added to his appeal. A foreign prince, perhaps, a Maharaja, a nearby emperor. Who knows? But terribly exciting all the same. Hate to upstage my boy at his own party, but lifelong filial bliss is worth a tad more. But why have one when you can create 3? But do not think I settled there. Once our mysterious but hidden scarecrows drew the curious like death, I decided charity could also be useful. I am fundamentally, I think, a man of merciful tendencies, so I uplifted some of the more pitiful and pathetic members of the court. Now mind you, I am not an extraordinarily gifted magician. A few knickknacks, one or two minor miracles, but I am an awe-inspiringly talented rumor-monger. So, hidden fortunes were discovered through whispers, as were certain astronomical blessings heretofore unsuspected. I also talked up a few of the ladies, just for equity's sake. Yes, it's true, I am a saint. However, no amount of delusion would stop the fundamental truth. The prince was the man to be had, and he enjoyed being targeted. So we moved on to the vast majority of the evening, arranging unfortunate mishaps. For instance, Lady Catherine, who was in most respects an upright, lovely human being, if one judges the person entirely by the trusses of their hair and the size of their dowry. If one insisted on personality, kindness, values, or the overrated ability to string syllables together, she may have had slightly less to recommend her. Thus, Lady Catherine had the misfortune of an entire crystalline punch bowl unexpectedly shattering at her back. The red concoction massacred the golden silk. It was the most ostentatious of my pranks, but in my defense, she once referred to me as that leathery old bat creeping in the corner, and I do have a memory for insults. And if I understand the current social mores, if my feelings were hurt, there is no limit to how far I may go for revenge. Most of those with whom I don't share a torrid past are handled far more kindly. It is not their fault they were not selected by a fairy of immense power. These unfortunate day players accidentally squeak like a bird or grow small blemishes no human eye would notice, but they themselves do. One particularly sweet and kind young lady who I did not have the heart to embarrass simply got lost in a maze of mirrors. As the moon drew closer, I'll admit to a touch of hubris. I'd examined the woodcutter's new status. Standard operating procedure. Directly following my first conversation with lovely Madeline, it behooved me to examine why a woodcutter would be invited to a ball of this sort at all. Let's say describing him as a lumberjack might be the equivalent of confusing the drummer boy with a general. His business had grown, as if by magic, cough, cough, over the last decade. Additionally, William Miller, I discovered, not only possessed a name, but a title. Due to extraordinary acts in relation to the kingdom, the man became a hero in certain circles by saving the king from a vicious bear during a useless hunt. This ill-advised set of heroics earned him a small county, which included the woods where he once felled mighty oaks. The wicked wife of whom I'd heard so much was herself a widow and a fairly rich countess. Lady Valerie, formerly Gloucester, then Bellador, currently Miller. The previous husband was a beautiful, empty-helmed knight, so it seems our silver-haired vixen had a type. As a woman of discriminating taste, only the brave and subservient would do. The daughters, Carol and Ruby, left for the haunted woods 6 years ago, so this would be their introduction to court. Clever, admittedly. This odd concoction of a festival allowed them to make an impression in a mask, followed by a formal introduction at a later time. I did not anticipate how spectacular their entrance would prove. Only a few glancing moments did I dedicate to the accompanying male, Lord Miller. He was out of place, no question, but with a sort of affable cluelessness that made you smile. He was attractive, but not handsome. His hands were rough, and I felt like he could build me something. The woman on his arm could have ended a life with a smile, if her face ever contorted in that direction. Stone-cold beauty. The mask she wears hardly a thin piece of fabric over the eyes. A sharp, blood-red dress highlighted her shoulders and neck. Formidable. That was the message, clear and heard. Any hope I had that the two daughters would be less striking lay soon dashed on the marble floor. Clearly, our favorite wicked stepmother kept plots of her own. Her two daughters walked in, presented in such delicious focus that the inclination of any man would be drawn one way or the other. The eldest arrived with what can only be described as a form of sensual maternity. And before you accuse me of a complex, let me say what I mean. First, her curves were highlighted in such a way as to endanger speeding carriage drivers. Hips, breasts, thighs, legs, all accentuated but tastefully hidden. You could not accuse Carol of impropriety. In fact, you'd be forced to find the word elegant, even as your imagination countered with vulgarity. Your eyes drifting dangerously round and round. "Sir, how dare you?" she'd say, laughing with a coy smile and raised eyebrow. "A lady doesn't discuss such things until she's better acquainted." Magisterial. That's a word I enjoy, and it shall be applied. When she danced, it would be slowly, drawing the eyes in with the manner of a mesmerist. But if one's palate preferred a hint of spice, we had Ruby, the younger sister, adorned in oranges and reds, fiery, and moved as flames do, prancing from one count to the other duke, filled with energetic flirtation, a temptation, but an even greater challenge. Who could outdance this lively little lark? Who might outwit her sharp tongue? She toyed along the borders of impropriety, a sheer dress covering tight male leggings that allowed a very good view of her calves. Ankles are quite enticing, aren't they? And I began to wonder, what must our little Ella look like? If Madeline described these three as hags, what kind of celestial was due to arrive? Still, that wouldn't be for an hour, and for the moment I had worthy adversaries to be distracted. I leapt across the ballroom, going from wig to spectacles to shoulder pads. These agents of ascension were not distracted by my literal and figurative strawmen. They spotted the prince and began their pursuit. While contemplating tactics, I couldn't help but notice a few protective charms pinned to their dresses. So they were not ignorant of Madeline's machinations. Fortunately, as magic was a technique I had picked up and not a birthright, I had slightly more flexibility, if substantially less power, than those who wander in the eternal fields. Turns out it was useless. It became apparent as I tried my hand at sabotage that the stepmother's wisdom was more substantial than anticipated. A minor charm, which would have caused Ruby's strap to undo, ricocheted off the pendant, hitting poor Lord Montebank. Suspenders snapped, causing a momentary scene. Fortunately, the Prime Minister had the confidence which comes from drunkenness, a small repentant smile, quick adjustment, and he continued his jig. I had a little more success with the elder sister, as I left a tadpole on her shoulder. The beast quickly grew into a frog, bellowing into her ear. But the lady in question did not shriek and cause a scene. Instead, Carol gently picked up the toad, passed it off to the gentleman with whom she danced, and quipped, "Is this a party favor? Next time make sure mine is full green." The confused knight now had an amphibian to lose, and she managed to lose an unwanted suitor. Accolades were offered from many, including the prince. "Get here, Ella," I muttered to myself, reaching into my bag to find something, anything to delay this meeting. But as if by mystic invocation, the trumpets blared precisely on cue. I turned and found my wildest imaginations were unfit to the task at hand. I had never seen a more awkward girl so terribly dressed in my entire life. A big, toothy grin, freckles that even the mask could not hide, the hair brambled and wild as if some creature of the deep forest had been responsible for its upkeep. And then it occurred to me that is precisely what happened. "Oh, no, no, no," I muttered. "We're doomed."
Hiya, I'm LJ.
And I'm Lane McLeod Jackson.
You're a troll.
What? I thought it was funny.
We're here to let you know you can also find us on Substack under
Paperback Productions.
Yep, this podcast and other goodies will be delivered right to your inbox if you subscribe.
So please support us.
Emotionally.
Financially.
Dramatically. See, I can be funny too.
Try to be professional, okay, babe? Thank you all for your support. So glad to be the recipient of your magnanimity.
Magnanimity?
Yeah, I've read this word my entire life.
Magnanimity. Magnanimity.
Magnanimity.
Yeah.
So glad to be the recipient. Hold on a second. Magnanimity. Magnanimity. We're changing the word.